We're just ordinary people living ordinary lives until we see someone on TV win a $25,000 prize. Come on down. I'll play any game for 10 seconds of fame. Come on down. I'll make a deal, just let me spin the wheel. Come on down. To win $1 million, all you need is a little luck and thorough knowledge of multiple disparate trivial subjects.
All right, welcome to an all-new episode of Come On Down, the game show podcast that is filmed right here
in Dallas.
That's correct.
And the only podcast hosted by two fully vaccinated people.
Do you think we're the only podcast that has two? What about like podcasts by old people?
Like Dr. Fauci's podcast?
Dr. Fauci's podcast. Have you listened to it, by the way? He's got a new episode on the serial killer. God, I struggled really.
Coronavirus is
really
a serial
big
killer to him?
Yeah, he considers the coronavirus killer.
Got it.
As a big serial killer thing.
I like it.
Anyway, welcome to an all-new episode. Today, oh boy, have we got a treat for me.
And children.
So kids who are listening along, you're going to learn some new words today.
Yep.
But also, you're going to hear about a game show called Nick Arcade.
And the Nick is short for Nickelodeon.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I didn't know that. I searched Nick Arcade and multiple Nickelodeon arcades showed up, and I didn't know if this was the correct game or not. I deduced using deduction. Kids, that is your first word of the day. Deduction. I deduced that this was the correct game show.
Great work.
Thanks. And what was the word that you're going to bring to the kids today?
Motherfucker.
Spoiler alert, this is another NC-17 podcast.
Anyway, before we hop too far into Nick Arcade, we've got a sponsor, I believe, that you just sent over to me. You struggled to send over to me.
Let's put a pause on Nick Arcade. And let's get into the pause is a game show term.
Like a video game?
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So it looks like it's my line first, like always. All right. Today's sponsor, Kraft Heinz, hails from BC, Canada, province of the Wake and Bake.
As a kid, you always feel like adults get to do all the cool things.
Drive, bedroom wrestling, ice cream for breakfast.
Well, now one of the cool adult things makes its way into your child's lunchbox. Lunchies.
A Lunchie has all the ingredients of a great tasting lunch, which includes 17 chips, 3 Reese's Pieces, a fruit roll-up, 1 hot dog, a piece of bread, 3 spoonfuls of peanut butter, orange juice, high C, a Pop-Tart sandwich, which is when you place jelly between 2 Pop-Tarts, a breakfast burrito, and chocolate milk.
Just give your kid the packaged 10 milligram edible gummy that each Lunchie meal comes with when you drop them off at school, and that Lunchie is going to taste like absolute heaven to your kid.
Come on down, listeners. Get the ultimate Lunchie package free for the first month, which includes double the amount of food and a 35 milligram edible. Holy shit.
Use the code LUNCHIEONDOWN at checkout to receive this awesome offer.
Lunchies. Give your kid a taste of adulthood for lunch.
Ooh.
Edible is another term the kids are going to learn today.
Yes, that is our third term today.
Yeah, 35 milligrams is another term I would not recommend.
You wouldn't?
For a moderate to new
edible
user, I would not recommend 35 milligrams.
Yeah. I would, because if you can't take 35 milligrams, you're a bitch.
How much can you take?
Well, 5 is a good starting point. And then from there, here's what I do. Allegedly, I would take 5. If I were to do edibles,
right.
I would take 5 milligrams and tell myself in an hour and a half, I will decide if I want to do more.
Right.
And then I'm asleep at that point. So I just allegedly never take more than the initial 5.
Got it. So you're a pussy. Which is another word.
It's another word.
All right. Today, we, as we mentioned, are going to talk about a children's game show from the year 1992.
Man. Good year.
Nick Arcade. What are some other things from that year that you remember that make it a good year for you?
I mean, clearly it was a leap year starting on Wednesday. of the Gregorian calendar.
Oh, wow. Did you just pull up the 1992 Wikipedia page?
No, January 13th was my favorite date, and
Why
that's
was that?
because that's when Japan apologized for forcing Korean women into sexual slavery during World War II.
It takes a big man to admit that.
Oh my god!
After 47 years.
Yeah.
It takes
Holy
a big man
crap!
to...
That was literally the first thing I saw.
Wow.
Oh my gosh!
I can't wait for Woody Allen's apology in 2064.
And it's going to be something like, here's the apology that really, I think, irks people is when, and you actually taught me this, it's when you apologize that somebody felt a certain way. So you don't have to actually
Did I teach
apologize.
you that by example?
That's when, I think you told me that.
Yeah.
But that's when you apologize, but not really.
Right.
Your ego still gets to be like, I won the situation by not having to show vulnerability. But you still, hopefully if you're dumb enough, think that I have apologized for the actions that I took or the words that I said.
Right. Yeah, it's you can't apologize for how you make somebody else feel. You have to apologize for your actual actions.
Yeah.
And I've learned that
You don't have to, but that's the healthier route.
I've learned that the hard way.
By what? Doing it over and over?
Repeatedly to this day for, I don't know, dozens of years.
Sure.
No, I remember, I hope I haven't shared this story on here before. This is a good lesson for you kids. There was a time in college, I had a girlfriend, and we had a sometimes volatile relationship.
Heavy emphasis on these sometimes.
Okay. And I remember there was one evening we were on the phone and arguing about something. I can't remember what. I just remember being yelled at. And I said something along the lines of, and kids, here's a lesson. Don't ever say anything like this.
Yeah.
Something along the lines of, you're being such a dumb bitch right now. That's not funny. I don't know why you're laughing.
That's kind of funny.
It was very awful for me to say.
You're right. Obviously. Agreed.
And then I believe you overheard this. You were near me at the time.
Well, it didn't really matter if I was near you or not because we lived in a 400 square foot apartment and everything was audible in every corner.
Sure. So I then, after cooling down a little bit, called back, and after reflecting and realizing that was a wrong thing for me to say.
Right.
And so instead of, I did the right thing in that I didn't apologize for upsetting her by saying that. What I did say was, I'm sorry for calling you a bitch. And her response was, a what bitch? She was more upset that I called her a dumb bitch than a bitch.
Oh my God.
So then I had to say, I'm sorry for calling you a dumb bitch.
What was your initial response when she said that? Were you just like still in apology mode or you were like, what?
I think I was more like scared. I think is probably the best terminology I can use.
And that takes a big man to admit, but I mean, I agree. I mean, the most scared I've ever been is, when women are yelling because, you've really, really messed up.
So yeah, always give proper apologies.
Give full
and proper apologies. There's a lesson for you kids. So Nick Arcade, what you like? You don't like that segue?
So
it was smooth, I thought.
Nick Arcade, which is not a stupid bitch, is
dumb bitch. Would you?
So sorry. I'm so sorry.
So Nick Arcade, this is another one of these shows, and I think we've talked about this with other children's game shows that we've discussed before. As a child, this is a show that I thought, was on for 4 or 5 years. Because it was on the TV for 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
But it only aired new episodes during the year 1992. That's it. There were 84 episodes. Every single one of them aired in 1992. And it was on the Nickelodeon network. I don't know if you were surprised by that. You were, obviously.
Not at all.
At first.
I mean, at first I was, yeah. I was expecting us to show up in this cool kid's arcade in his home, and his name's Nick, and you for some reason...
Nick's Arcade is what you thought it was?
You're going
You
through.
thought he forgot the possessive?
No, that's the name.
Hi, welcome to John House.
I'm sorry, you introduce people as welcome to John's house.
No, I said John
Welcome
House.
to John's house.
So
It was on Nickelodeon.
It was on Nickelodeon. Thank you for getting me back on track here. 84 episodes, all aired in 1992. It was hosted by a guy named Phil Moore.
84 episodes. That was more than one a week.
Yes, this was like I think it was probably 4 to 5 a week for the weeks that it aired.
Okay.
Like many of the daytime game shows of the 70s, 80s, 90s era.
Okay.
Or Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right now in our kind of post-game show heyday. So it was hosted by Phil Moore, he was previously like some sort of computer
Not Bill
guy.
Moore.
Not Bill Moore.
Right.
Who's
And
Bill Moore?
And I knew that.
Oh, is that what his name was in your notes?
The episode that I watched,
Okay.
really hard to tell. The
Okay.
audio quality in the 90s apparently is not great.
Okay. So Phil Moore, he was formerly some sort of computer technician, programmer type of guy. I don't know. He was associated with computers.
Okay.
In his career in the late 80s. He then decided he wanted to be a stand-up comedian. So he started doing stand-up comedy in and around the Orlando area, which is where he lived.
Right.
That led to kind of his first big break, which was as the warm-up comic for the TV game show Remote Control, which
There
we've
are
covered
so
here.
many parallels between Nick Arcade and Remote Control. So this makes sense.
There are many parallels that we'll get into between the way the two game shows work, that aside from the fact that they aired in generally the same time period, late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
But the gameplay had some similarities as well.
Yes.
So Phil Moore was brought on to host this show. And the way the show works is there are 2 teams of 2 kids.
4 people total.
5 if you include
You're not
Phil Moore.
the only one that can do math.
Wow. You did that in your head just now?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 teams of 2 kids. And it starts with a video game face-off. So
Whoa.
one member of each team goes up to this arcade machine, and they've got 30 seconds to see who can score the most points.
Sweet.
And so there were...
And this is going to be like a recognizable game that everybody's played. It's
No, wrong. It's a really crappy looking game that is very confusing to follow. Like, there were a few episodes I saw where it was a game that looked sort of like Asteroids or Missile Command a little bit, and that there were big rocks and each person had a gun and they were trying to shoot the rocks, and you got points for hitting as many rocks, or if a spaceship came in or something like that, maybe that was worth more points. However, there were such issues as I can't really tell whose bullet is whose because they were the same exact color and looked the same. There was like a big travel time between them aiming at the thing and pressing fire and the projectile actually arriving there. So like I could see the crosshairs that were individually team colored.
Yeah.
But the bullet takes a really like a second and a half to get to where the crosshairs are. So they were missing like crazy most of the time. Anyway, whoever wins this initial face-off, and they had a few different games that would rotate through, and they were all some form of lame like this.
Right. Can I tell you about the one I saw?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. It had a line of from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen on the right and left sides.
Oh, was it the Pong
It was
one?
Pong.
Yeah.
It was Pong is what it was. But this one is if it hit the speaker, the line of speakers, notes would be played. And so if they were messing up, the game sounded better, which I felt was a bad
Right.
incentive. I want to hear sweet tunes.
Obviously.
I don't care about winning this game. But it was absolutely Pong. And it was also difficult because the ball wasn't a ball. It was sound waves. So it was very hard to follow with my
Especially
eyes.
because the video technology at the time
was
not great.
so not great.
Yeah. So whoever had the most points at the end of this 30-second face-off won, I believe, like 25 points in the first round and control of the board.
Whew.
Now, the board is where things get really crazy.
Right. And it's 3 stories tall.
No, that
It
was
is not.
Cherry's Wild.
That was a different game.
Yes, that was the last one that we
This
did.
one's probably not even a story tall.
No, I don't think it was. So the board, it was a 6x3 square board
Okay.
with
18.
Yes, 18 total squares. I saw you have that in your notes though.
I do. I do. I also Googled what's 6 times 13. 6 times 3.
So, and on this board is Mikey, the video adventurer.
And so this is another opportunity. This is clearly a game that everybody's played, right? Everybody knows this game.
No, Mikey, the video adventurer is a made-up person for this show.
Okay.
So Mikey starts on one end of the board, basically, and there is a goal on the opposite side of the board. And throughout the game, the purpose is to gradually move him across these spaces to the goal. And Mikey can move up, down, left, or right, any way but diagonal,
Okay.
as Fillmore clarifies for
Right.
us.
And so when you say goal, you mean he's dribbling a soccer ball?
No, it's just a thing that says goal. And he's definitely never dribbling a soccer ball.
Okay.
There are several different boards available in different episodes
Okay.
that are themed. Like there's a desert one, there's a neighborhood one, there's a jungle one, there's a water one. Like what do you remember what it was on the episode that you watched?
It was a neighborhood and he was skateboarding.
Okay, so the neighborhood and he's skateboarding. So on this board consist what they call the 4 P's.
I loved this part.
The 4 P's: points, puzzles, pop quizzes, and prizes.
Love the alliteration.
Yes. But in addition to the 4 P's,
Yeah.
there is also an enemy that can be in a few of the spots on here.
Okay, now we're talking.
And the enemy is custom tailored to the board also. Like in the desert one, it's a genie. I believe in the neighborhood one, it's like the neighborhood bully.
It is the bully. But how is a genie a deterrent? A genie gives you 3 wishes.
Not this one, he's bad.
And
Trust me.
And why?
Because it's spelled D-J-I-N-N-I in this one. Ginny.
Oh, DJ.
DJ Innie.
Okay. So it's like a guy.
It's a guy who just has his shirt up above his belly button at all times.
he's got a shirt on, but it's a cut. It's just a circle cut out. Right where his belly button is. Oh man.
So basically, through when you earn control of the board, you can choose which direction to move Mikey in.
Okay.
And if you land on a prize, you get that prize and you retain control. If you land on the enemy, whether it be the genie, the bully, etc., you lose control of the board at that point. And if there are, these puzzles or pop quizzes, you face off against the other team once again, generally. Some of them will be video puzzles, which going back to your remote control comparison, I think this is the one that is very similar to the way remote control worked. They would say, everybody put your hands on your buzzers. And now we're going to play. Yes, good work. Now we're going to play this video challenge. And it might be this music video got all zibbled up by bad reception, because that was a thing back in the day that you had to deal with. And now we're going to play the music video all zibbled up, and you have to identify what artist it is in the music video. Okay.
Nirvana.
Incorrect. It was MC Hammer. On the episode, or one of the episodes that I saw that they had that challenge, it was MC Hammer.
Okay.
One that I saw, it was like, we were watching TV and flipping through the channels, and coincidentally, every channel was talking about the same person. Who was it? And then they would play a video of different quote-unquote channels, flipping through, giving little descriptions about a person.
Okay.
And then you had to buzz in and guess who it was. At which point you get some points. In the first round, I believe it was 25 points per, and control of the board to move Mikey.
Yeah. up, down, left, or right, not diagonal.
Right. One of the other big things was the video challenge, which was if you moved your team onto a video challenge, you then went over to an arcade type area where there were 5 arcade machines.
Okay.
And one person on your team selected a game to play.
Okay.
And there was a high score that they had to beat in 30 seconds, basically.
Right.
And the other person on their team secretly, with one of those magnetic sketch type things.
Like not Etch-a-Sketch.
Not Etch-a-Sketch, the one that had the pen with the magnet on the tip.
It had the man's face and
you,
it had facial hair that you could...
Right, and you did the shoomp across the bottom to wipe it out.
Right.
So the other person on your team wrote down a wager of how many points you were going to risk.
So basically how confident they are in your skills.
Right.
Is what this... But this is a section where they're playing video games that people know.
Right. So the games like Super Ghouls and Ghosts was on there. Mario Brothers 3 was on there at the very beginning of the show. There were there was a lot of beat 'em up type games that were popular at the time as well. So these were all real games, and they were kind of promoting the games as well. Like Phil Moore would do a little they'd be like, I want to do Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and he'd be like, all right, so in Super Ghouls and Ghosts, you're fighting against the ghouls and ghosts that have come back to life and are trying to take over the town. So he kind of gives like the sales pitch summary overview of the game.
Okay.
Before you play it. And then I'll say, and in this, our expert high score is 2,500 points in 30 seconds. And so you have to get points. And some of these people are just absolutely terrible at video games and seem to have no idea what they're doing. So I don't know why they're on a show called Nick Arcade.
I bet they lied. Or their parents lied to get him on there.
He plays video games all the time.
He's going to be a star, obviously, and he'll be great, and just get him on.
Some of them were terrible. And then some, like this one kid, he was playing the games, and then his teammate was wagering, and then she wagered 5 points. Keep in mind, it's 25 points for each correct question, and she wagered 5 points. Which was a good wager because he failed.
Okay.
It turned out.
There you go.
But I thought it was funny that she wagered 5 points.
They were talking before the show, and he was like, I'm so glad we get to play really cool arcade games. And she goes, what's your favorite? And he was like, a billiards. And she was like, okay, I'm not wagering any more than 5 points for this idiot.
You're worth 5 points max.
Yeah. Your life is.
Wow. And so you would play that. You would go back. You would retain control. You would move Mikey, etc. I would say probably the majority, a little more than half of them, resulted in some sort of head-to-head competition between the two teams where you could buzz in and then obviously you get the points. You can steal control from the other team, control of Mikey. And then the round ended when you got Mikey to the goal. And I say that because that's the rules were. The round ended when you got Mikey to the goal.
Right.
The reality was every fucking time ran out of time in the round before anybody got Mikey to the goal. And so it ended with them, we're going to move Mikey to the goal and ask you one trivia question for control or for 25 points and to win the round.
Yep.
And I watched multiple episodes, and in every single round of every single episode, this happened. And even one time, Mikey was one step away from the goal. So the team that had control, all they had to do was say, right. And they would have won.
Yeah.
But they said, oh, time's up. We're going to move Mikey to the goal. And I was like, that's kind of bullshit.
Oh, my gosh. What do you think happens when Mikey gets to the goal that they were so nervous about these kids?
He comes to life.
Like Pinocchio.
Yeah. He comes out of the board.
Oh, like the Ring Girl.
Yeah, looking like a really awful 2D animated sprite that he was.
Okay.
And he does kill children. That's kind of his thing.
So that's why. So it was a good thing that nobody ever got to the goal.
Exactly.
Thanks, Phil Moore, not Bill Moore.
Phil Moore was in charge of all that. So they did that for one round. They did the same thing, except the points were doubled for the second round, and there was a face-off to begin that round also with the team members that didn't participate in the face-off in round one. And it was a slightly different board, but with the same theme as the first one, like a slightly different area of the neighborhood, or in the first one might be the desert and the second one is inside a pyramid, or something along those lines. So that was generally how the game worked. Here's a note that I wrote that I just want to read to you.
Sure.
Verbatim. This host is out of control.
Because he's so hyper energetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is very hyper energetic. So there are obviously there are points between rounds, or when people are moving around. Like if you did a video challenge and the video challenge completes, that was kind of on the other side of the stage as the podiums where the contestants were. So they have to move back there. And every time they did that, there was like a little music track that would play. It would be like a doom doo doo doom doo doom doom doo doom 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 doo doom, something along those lines.
Yeah. And
every single time something like that happened within the game, we would get Fillmore going, "We're going back to the podium right now because they just won the game. Yeah!" Every single time.
Yeah.
He would interject with some little made-up song that he's making up on the spot in relation to what's going on within the game at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, to your point, yeah, he was highly energetic. He was highly over the top. I know, obviously, he's trying to entertain the youths.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was ridiculous.
I agree a little bit.
Okay.
I do think that he was way over animated for sure. And it actually annoyed me a little bit. But then I thought, this poor dude has to listen to the same damn tune 9 times every time he does this game show.
For 84 episodes.
Right. So I got a little empathetic and I was like, man, I get it. Just make up whatever freaking you want to hum to this one. You want to make this up. So I saw it more as a descent into madness. And so I felt for him. I was like, I kind of know what you're going through. Working at American Eagle back in my early college days, I had to listen to the same playlist over and over and over, and it ruined the songs for me, and it makes you go mad. So I should have, in my day, made fake lyrics up to the songs.
What were some of the songs on that playlist?
I mean, I don't remember them now.
Oh.
I just remember the feeling.
Obviously, it really affected you then.
It did, because when it comes onto the radio, I pass out.
Oh, wow.
And it's happened a couple times when I've been driving.
That's a bummer. So this did, I feel like, make me realize, because going back to our contestants, the kids on this show, they were much like what we've seen in some of the other children's game shows from the early 90s.
I mean, specifically Double Dare.
Double Dare or Legends of the Hidden Temple.
I thought they were a little bit better than Double Dare.
Okay. So they, again, are not particularly charismatic. These are kind of shy, nervous, around 10 to 12-year-old kids.
True.
That are not used to being up on stage with cameras pointed at them and people cheering and being put on the spot asking them all these questions and things like that. And some of the questions were not super easy for kids these age either.
Let's dive into that because I would love to talk about why the pop quiz questions were such as, which Supreme Court justice did Clarence Thomas replace?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Difficult questions for young kids.
Thurgood Marshall.
There you go.
And the kid knew it immediately.
Well, because they did a black for black swap there, I guess.
Excuse me?
Thurgood Marshall was the first African-American Supreme Court justice.
Have you seen the trial that they put him on when he was... So, you remember the fun Brett Kavanaugh situation?
Oh, you mean Clarence Thomas?
Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, the Anita Hill thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
They also...
So that was in the news quite a bit.
Yeah, I know, but did you know anything about the Supreme Court when you were 10?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, me either.
No, definitely not.
I would have said it's got pepperoni, vegetables, ham.
No, that's a Supreme Pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, what was the question?
So the other thing was, and every time there was a pop quiz, there was a trivia question, basically every single time, Phil would say, "All right, we've got a trivia question for you. And remember, Mikey's in the desert." He would every single time before he asked it, because then he would say, "And remember, Mikey's in the desert. All right, for 25 points, what's the capital city of Iraq?"
Oh my God.
And I mean, they got it. They got Baghdad.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I
Man,
guess
these
this was
kids are
kind of
smart.
during the Gulf War period.
So who cares? You're
I
10.
know.
You don't know what's going on in the world. You're thinking about, when are my balls going to drop?
Was that what you were thinking when you were 10?
Probably. I don't know. I wasn't thinking about Clarence Thomas, and I definitely wasn't thinking about black for black swap. I didn't know that was a thing.
That sounds a lot worse out of context, I guess. So, yeah, they had some difficult questions, which a lot of times they got right.
Which leads me to believe that they were given a packet, maybe, similar to... What show did we talk about?
Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Right. So they were given, maybe a study packet.
That is a pretty big accusation there.
Hey, Phil Moore. How about you come at me? How about you prove me wrong? Prove me wrong that these kids weren't coached and knew Baghdad and knew Thurgood Marshall. And why did you remind us he was in the desert all the time?
I think the point was that the questions were themed around the area.
And then you go ahead and let me know how Supreme Court ties into a neighborhood.
Remember, Mikey's in the neighborhood. What Supreme Court justice? He was... Clarence Thomas was from the neighborhood, so...
He was just from the neighborhood?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's kind of from a neighborhood.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just saying. It falls under the category.
Yeah. Can I do one more? I would like to bring it up.
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of questions, questions answered. I didn't really understand. I believe it was the second round. If there was a tiebreaker, a question was asked for the tiebreaker. They had just played a game, an arcade game. I don't know why they had to go back to their podium and answer a question as a tiebreaker. Shouldn't it be a video game centric?
Face-off?
Right.
Because that takes 30 seconds to play the game and the time to move there and back, and we need more commercials for Fruit by the Foot.
Ooh, how many feet could you eat?
All of it.
How is that not the phrase?
How many feet can you eat?
Dang. And then it's like
Should we go back in time and start an advertising agency to pitch Fruit by the Foot?
Yeah.
How many feet can you eat?
And we also know how to target kids because or manipulate kids because we could be like, "Are you a baby? If you're a baby, you can only eat 4 feet of Fruit by the Foot." So these kids are just gorging themselves on Fruit by the Foot.
They've got to buy more.
Right, because nobody wants to be a baby.
That's true. Wow, that's a good strategy. If Fruit by the Foot is out there listening and is looking to do some more marketing, I don't watch the channels that Fruit by the Foot advertises on anymore, so I don't know what your current campaign is. But if you use how many feet can you eat, just know you're getting a letter from our legal department. Right.
Don't suck feet. Eat feet. That's another one for free. You can use that one.
No, don't use that one.
Sorry, that's kink shaming. I'll come up with more.
Okay. So I want to go ahead right here and stop down for a second.
Stop it down.
Based on what we've just been talking about. And I would like to issue a formal apology to Mark Summers. Somebody that we've had a bit of a troubled history with.
Mark, him and I, from Baker and I, we should have never called you a dumb bitch.
Mark Summers. So when we did our Double Dare episode, we talked about how the kids were uncharismatic and boring.
Very much so.
And that in the more modern type of shows, they use children that are, somewhat aspiring actors or something like that are much more charismatic and outgoing and maybe a little more engaging.
Yes.
I'd like to apologize. Because what Mark Summers, I think, has helped make me realize, and what in consistent viewing of some of these children's game shows has helped me realize, is that when you were a 10-year-old kid, you were shy and nervous.
I wasn't.
Okay.
I was loud and annoying.
Okay. The majority of 10-year-old kids,
Minority status, baby.
especially, you should apply for some jobs and put that on there.
Okay.
Especially, you know, who are the target audience of this, who are going to be watching at home, these kids are going to be, if put into such a situation of having cameras and lights and audiences all staring at you, you're going to be shy, you're going to be nervous, you're not going to really have a very comfortable way of dealing with that. So when you're watching that at home, I think you can relate to that as a kid.
Okay.
I think now we live in a society where, because of these modern Disney Channel shows, I think like from Hannah Montana on, basically, because of the kids that they're casting on the children's game shows now, because of YouTube and TikTok and whatnot, you get all of this exposure of these really gregarious, outgoing children.
Right. And that is our fourth word of the day, gregarious.
And I think it sets like an impossible standard for these kids to live up to. I think that's why we've got more issues with depression and things like that, because you don't see people that are like you in any of this, and you think you have to be like that now. I have to be like this dumb little girl on TikTok or YouTube or whatever.
That's what you
to
think?
fit in.
That's what you think?
I don't think that.
Oh, okay.
I think that other children, 10 to 12-year-old kids, are seeing these kids and thinking that everybody else is like this. What's wrong with me? Or why can't I be like that? Or I need to be like that.
Okay.
Whereas I think back in the early 90s, in these game shows, in Nick Arcade, in Double Dare, etc.,
Okay.
I think they had real kids that are bashful, that aren't super outgoing, that don't know how to deal with a camera being shoved into their face, which more kids can relate to. And now I think we're putting kids in a situation where they have to act a certain way in order to fit in, and I think it's bad for us.
So you're saying what women and some men have dealt with throughout almost the entire modern era of advertising is similar to what kids are dealing with now, in that the models used in advertising for both men and women are such unrealistic standards.
Right. I just think it's more harmful for children because
Their brains are so
their
dumb.
brains are dumb. They don't know how to deal with the world yet.
Right. I mean, it's hard for adults, and we know the real meaning. We know advertising is fake, but still, you know, it's thrown in your face. And I think I've got to look like, I think that my dad bod. Oh, wait, hold on. That's the opposite point. Dad bods are accepted ugly bodies.
Accepted ugly bodies.
Right? Isn't that
Yeah, I think
poor description?
Yeah.
But also, I agree with you, but
I'm saying we
I
need more
think-
boring kids out there.
I don't. I love that these kids are just like, because I don't want to watch another stupid fucking game show where kids look, they're bad. I don't want to see bad kids anymore. I want all the kids to be depressed.
But you're not.
But
you okay?
But if they're gregarious, I'll take a gregarious, depressed kid over a healthy, bashful kid any day.
Right, but you're not 10 years old.
And also, don't send me your kids. I mean, I would rather watch that.
Come on down show at gmail.com if you'd like to send in your gregarious 10-year-old. Yeah, I just think I understand what Mark Summers was trying to say to us now when he said,
They're
quote,
just
you guys don't get it.
They're just kids.
Yeah. I think the fact that they're real kids speaks better to real kids, or speaks in a healthier way to real kids.
I can see it. I mean, still from this side of the table, fuck you, Mark Summers. But
Wow.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
I love you, Mark Summers, from this side of the table.
Wow.
So after the end of round 2,
Classic right versus left.
getting back into the game.
Yeah. Hey, let's hit Resume.
After this episode of Crosstalk, after the second round, the team with the most points was the winner. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about being the winner is you go into the video zone against the video game wizard. So this was basically...
And this was an actual grand wizard from the KKK
Wow.
that you had to play video games against.
It was more acceptable back then. Those people were still running for Congress and whatnot. And Joe Biden was still friends with them. So it was okay back then. So this was basically all of our first exposure to VR, pretty much.
Yeah.
So the way that the video zone worked was, and this is important on how the teams were made up.
Okay.
Because the teams were the red team and the yellow team
Yeah.
in this game. You might have noticed. In the majority of these types of games, it was red team versus blue team. In Double Dare, it was red team versus blue team, etc.
Okay.
This time, it was red team versus yellow team, which was interesting. But there's a reason for that. Because they were basically doing weatherman shit.
With a blue screen?
With a blue screen.
Nice.
So for the video zone, the kids were up against a blue screen, which was projected with a somewhat interactive video game background. And there were 3 levels, and you had 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. So to complete all 3 levels. So one of the team members went for the first level. They had to complete whatever the mission was, collect this many of this thing while avoiding the aliens, the monsters, etc. There were different levels.
Yeah.
And then it went to the second level where the other contestant competed. And it was the same thing. Collect these things, avoid these things. And if you press this thing, it'll kill all the bad things, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the third level was the both of them together fighting against the wizard. And there were a few different types of video game wizard that you would fight against in the last level, depending on the episode.
Right. Grand was one of them.
Yeah, there was like Krorg or something was one of them. He had an ice level, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
And the Grand Wizard was just, I think his name was just Steve.
yeah. And yeah, David Duke made a cameo appearance. So, and then in that one, you had to, again, kind of grab these 3 orbs before you get killed by the wizard or whatever. And I think you had 5 health points, and if at any point you got hit by too many of the evil guys in the level or whatever, you had to start that level back over from the beginning.
Okay.
And you started it over with the amount of life force that you started the level with. So if you get to level 3 with 2 out of 5, if you lose 2, you got to start over and you're back to having 2.
Oof.
So it's difficult. You don't want to lose any of your life force in those first couple levels. Or like this one that I watched, you don't want to lose all of your life force repeatedly in the first level and never get past the first level.
That would be a poor strategy.
The challenge is, and remember I called this, quote, some weatherman shit earlier, is we are seeing the kid and the video
Right
game
and
world
left.
around them.
Yeah.
They are looking at a screen off camera to see where they are, and a lot of times, yes, they're getting their right and left confused because they have to go the opposite way of what they see themselves on the screen. They're not able to react in real time to this thing popping up in front of them because they look at the screen, they say, oh, I've got to go left, and they start running left, and a monster pops up there, and I wasn't looking at the screen because I was focused on running to where I knew I needed to
because there are
run to.
ladders I'm climbing up.
Yeah, there are
around.
ladders. There was one where it kind of looked like the Rampage arcade game.
Okay.
Where there were buildings and there's people on the roofs, and there's like 5 of them, and these kids like this kid is like jumping up these things, and so he would see a person on top of one of them, and then he would jump on the complete wrong one because it was the opposite side of where he was jumping. That was the kid who just failed repeatedly and never got past the first level. So
things are happening so quickly in this video game. It is, I mean, it's not like super sped up, but it's would be things that are hard if you were playing this as a video game.
Right.
That's how quickly these obstacles are flying at these kids.
Right. And I'm pretty sure that it's basically just a person that is saying like, yep, he got that one, like
Yeah.
pressing a button on a computer, something like, ooh, a bad guy hit him, take away a life thing. Because, it's a person on a blue screen and it's 1992, so they don't really have the kind of technology to make it truly interactive.
Right.
However, I will say, this is a first.
Ooh.
This was the first American show to intermix live action and animation via blue screen.
Hell yeah.
It was basically exclusively for weatherman shit before this.
Weatherman shit.
Yeah. And now it was an interactive game. Never happened before.
And here's my take on that. Maybe just leave it as weatherman shit and don't do this because it looked painful. It was painful to watch this happen.
It was difficult. Did you see people beat it?
No, I
No.
saw people. Here's what I saw, which I enjoyed, which kind of is fucked up. I saw these two kids try so hard for the first two levels, and the third level approached, and they ran up as fast as they could with anticipation, and it was like, "Rah, rah, rah, game over," and the kid kept going.
Oh no.
And Phil had to be like, "Oh, guys, almost at it, but time's up, game's over." And the game, and he had to say it louder. And you see the kid just turn around and just sulk down this ladder.
Oh no.
And I was just like,
So they ran out of time right as they got to the third level?
Yes.
That's a bummer.
and it was hard to watch and fun to watch. It was a two situation.
But yeah, I mean, it's 60 seconds total.
It's not a lot.
It's very fast paced. It's wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, no
And-
whammies.
Yeah, and so the other thing was what I kind of enjoyed was seeing the prizes, especially on all of these early 90s
Yeah.
shows. I love seeing what prizes kids especially are getting. Like their British Knights shoes was always like a prize that they might move Mikey over on the board.
Yeah.
And then one of the episodes that I watched, the grand prize, if they had completed the video zone, I loved it. I went crazy for it because
Yeah.
here's what they won. If they won,
The chance to compete in a drawing challenge.
don't bring that up. That hurts. If they won the video zone, these kids would have won a stay at the Holiday Inn in Key West,
Okay.
and for the length of their stay at the Holiday Inn,
Free Wi-Fi.
nope, a Mitsubishi station wagon rental.
Rental.
A rental
What?
Mitsubishi station wagon and a stay at the Holiday Inn.
So this show also had the same budget as Double Dare, $14 a day.
I thought that was the
Wow.
funniest prize.
I saw one and it was a croquet set. So I was trying to remember, was that big when we were kids? Was croquet a popular sport?
I mean, I don't know that it was a popular sport. It was a fun long
backyard game,
Yeah.
lawn game. I guess. Okay.
I mean, there was more kids doing outside shit back then, I feel like.
I mean,
So-
I had a set of lawn darts, and
Okay.
but I didn't even play that, and that seems way cooler than croquet.
Didn't they have croquet in Alice in Wonderland? That was maybe
Yeah, did they play with
made it
heads?
popular. I don't know.
Right? What were the balls they were playing with?
Yeah.
It was really messed up.
So yeah, this reminded me of what is now much better.
Oh, they were playing with with flamingos.
Oh,
They used the
yeah.
heads to hit the balls.
So this reminded me of something that's called the Void VR. Are you familiar with it?
No.
So cool.
So sick. So sick.
I first did this a few years ago at Disney Springs in Orlando, Florida, coincidentally enough.
Right.
That it's basically a building that is set up, and you put on a VR headset, and you put on like a backpack / vest combo thing.
Similar to like laser tag?
Yes, similar
Okay.
to laser tag. But you're in VR, and like, so the one I did in Orlando, it was Star Wars. And so you put it on and you look down and like you're a stormtrooper.
Whoa.
And it's a 4-person experience. So you and the 3 other people are all stormtroopers, and so you see them being stormtroopers as well.
So no matter where you aim, your beams never go there.
Exactly, you always miss. And they set up this building to where you're walking around like the Death Star or whatever, and you see walls and stuff like that, and there are actual walls. Like they set it up like kind of a maze a little bit or whatever. So anything, and like you got to press this button, and you reach out, and they actually have a button there, so you're actually feeling yourself press a button, or like, oh, here's a cache of guns, and like you reach over and they have like a laser tag type of gun that you're actually picking up, so you're feeling the gun in your hand, and you're seeing this Star Wars gun in the game. And there's a part where you like go down an elevator, and you see like yourself going down an elevator, and I think they're just like shaking the ground.
Okay.
And you go out to this lava pit, and there you feel the heat and everything. So it's really, really cool.
So where's the heat coming from? The backpack? Or
I think the environment, they have like heaters. Like
Got it.
Some forced air heaters. So it's really cool. It's like if this was cool, if the video zone was cool and worked well.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like almost similar to the D-Box experience.
What's the D-Box experience?
Isn't that the interactive chairs that you can sit in when you're watching a movie? Is that not called D-Box?
Oh, yeah, it might be. But
didn't you do one?
I did. Yeah, I went to a 4D movie theater in Manhattan, and the best part by far, was like hypothetically, let's say going back to the beginning of the show, hypothetically, if I had taken like a 10 milligram edible beforehand,
which is 5 times 2.
Wow, dude, you're getting really good at this. So the intro of it, where they do like, normally they do like the Dolby, sound is all around you sort of thing.
Yep.
For the 4D movie theater, they do a demo of the 4D. So you've got, your 3D glasses on, and you're in a chair that moves around, and it can poke you in the back, and there's air that can blow on you and water that can spritz on you. And so it's like a car chase scene, kind of Fast and the Furious feeling or whatever.
Hell yeah.
But it's shot like you're going through this car chase scene, and you're jumping over things, and the water's splashing on you as you hit a puddle and all this stuff. And it was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. Like, I think like my face hurt from smiling so much in that like 90-second demo at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the movie that we saw that had just happened to be playing in 4D at the time was really lame. So it wasn't. It was like one of those Annabelle movies.
It was like Magnolia.
It was not
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, I wish.
So there was a lot of spritzing all over your face.
No, it was one of those Annabelle movies.
The scary ones?
Yeah.
So what was it just like a lot of air blowing? And...
There was some air blowing. There was some like there were parts where like the camera is like walking down a hallway slowly, and the chair's kind of like rocked back and forth slowly, like you were walking slowly. So there were a couple parts that were cool, but it really was not the best use of the medium.
No, not at all.
If you ask me. But it was just what was showing at the time when I was there, so we did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, since 1992, our virtual reality technology has improved quite a bit, and this would probably be cooler today. Well, maybe it wouldn't be cooler today because, like, I have a VR headset at home, so I play VR whenever I want to right now.
Wow.
Yeah. You're goddamn right.
That's pretty cool.
I do weatherman shit in my head whenever I want to.
Oh my God.
Is what I'm saying. So I think the problem is it's too accessible now that me watching a video game where people do a VR challenge might not be as cool as it was in 1992 when it's like, oh my God, he's in the video game. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I remember before we did this show, like thinking like, oh, I remember the show being so cool. I remember wanting to be in that video game. I remember there being like a magic carpet level in the video game where you were riding on this thing and you had to go up and down and whatever. Because first of all, I was a dumb kid. I was one of those, 8-year-old kids that was watching the show.
You got tricked into thinking you won a drawing contest.
Okay, enough of that. God, it hurts every time.
But I'm helping you. This is called immersion therapy.
Oh, okay.
And you just kind of, you put people in situations where their brain is freaking out until their brain doesn't freak out. It's very simple therapy.
Okay. So, yeah, so this was very cool to me at the time. I didn't really understand the technology behind it, obviously, other than, oh, this person's in a video game. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know about, blue screens and whatnot, really. So it was really cool to me. It was really exciting and fun. And I think the point I was making was, I think now it wouldn't be that cool or exciting or fun because it would just be table stakes. Yeah. I put on a headset and I hit things with a lightsaber to music beats right now whenever I want to.
That's pretty sick.
So I think this was something that could have only existed at the time when this technology was raw and fresh and really drew you in.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else you'd like to say about this show?
Not enjoyable to watch.
Okay.
Not enjoyable to watch. And the kids I thought were a little more charismatic than Double Dare kids. I think in order to combat Fillmore's cocaine-like energy, we needed kids who were just as uncharismatic as Double Dare. So these kids didn't hit the mark for me. I needed to watch like a desperate man try and wrangle in a little bit of personality from
You wanted to see him at the end of his rope a little more?
If the kids were dead, I think that would have matched the energy of Fillmore.
So a dead kid and Fillmore's energy would average out to a normal person energy.
And I would want to watch that show.
Okay. Dead kids and Fillmore. So I've read a little bit about Fillmore.
Okay.
He seems to have like kind of devoted his life to children's education type of pursuits.
Okay.
Like he and his wife, I believe, in or around 2000, created an educational children's game show that was more of like a PBS style of thing that was just all about the education and not about video games necessarily.
Right. So every question was
about Thurgood Marshall specifically.
Okay.
So, I mean, he seems like he's a pretty good guy. Yeah, I don't think his stand-up comedy career took off the way he might have hoped.
Well, here's the thing. When you're in an emerging market such as computers in the 80s, don't leave that sector. Stay in that sector and do stand-up comedy on the weekends.
But then you would never be able to be talked about on a podcast like this.
This is not a good thing.
Oh, no?
This is not a good thing.
Oh.
You don't want to show up on this podcast because all we do is rip you and sip you. And I didn't have that last part thought about. So we don't sip you, obviously, but something that's like...
We don't suck your feet.
We don't...
Whatever we do with your feet.
Oh, man. I have some make it betters.
I'd love to hear it.
Number one, the camera should do a close-up shot on each of the kids' face when Fillmore tells them they've lost at the end of the game.
Wow.
Because just watching those kids have any energy, minuscule amounts of energy they had, drain from their faces was... It helps you realize you're not the only one that gets disappointed and hurt in this world. It's also, happens to be these kids that I'm watching, and that makes me feel good.
So you're back to my point about making these kids real to relate to at home.
Sure.
All right.
Second, the kids should be able to deliberate on the amount of points wagered.
You don't like that it's the one person betting on the other?
No, they should.
I think it's kind of fun because it's like, she didn't trust him at all. She only bet 5.
I mean, like, that's messed up.
Ooh, he really believed in her. He bet 100.
And then she lost.
But he believed in her, and that's what matters. I think that's going to give her confidence for the future.
And then I think you should make all the pop quiz questions Supreme Court related. Because I laughed out loud when that question came up. I could not believe...
Well, how shocked were you when they got it right, though?
You can't be any more shocked than the first part.
Because if you were asked that question today as a 34-year-old man, there's a 0% chance you're getting that correct, right?
I mean, I don't think it's 0, but it's close. It's like 0.1.
Okay. So 0.
So there's a chance.
No, there's no
So
chance.
there's a chance.
There's no chance.
So, and I probably would have mixed it up and said like Marshall Thurgood, and it would have been wrong.
You said, was it black for black?
And then I would say, I'm dyslexic. And they would have to say, oh, he switched the words because that's what dyslexia
fair.
is. Those are my make it betters.
Okay.
Makes it better.
Make it better.
Make it's better.
Yeah, I mean, my only make it better is make the technology better. Because it was so difficult watching these kids in the video zone, like clearly looking at the camera off screen and being like, and then just go the wrong way,
Right.
Because they're confused by the camera off screen showing their positioning on the thing.
Yeah.
That was very, very difficult.
What was more difficult for you to watch? Kids in the Temple or Kids in the Video Zone?
I think Kids in the Video Zone, because Kids in the Temple, it's like, yeah, they're dumb and they don't know how to put together the silver monkey, but at least it's like a physical thing and they're just failing at it. Whereas with the Video Zone, it's I sympathize with their inability to properly process, like, the weatherman has to be trained on pointing at the right spot. Like, that's,
Yeah.
you have to be a pro to do that stuff. And it's like, hey, 10-year-old kid, here's a helmet. Go on this blue screen and figure it out.
Loved the helmets, by the way.
They always need a helmet.
That's how I knew they were for sure climbing ladders when
Yeah.
they showed up with helmets on, ready to go.
But not blue, just to be clear.
Right.
They were yellow or red. Because otherwise they would disappear.
Which
on
I
the
would
screen.
love to see just a kid's face, like going through this.
All you see is just a very confused looking face.
Yeah.
That would be good. Yeah, so I'll give this show, again, this is not targeted at me. This did not have the technology that we do now. So I'm going to give it a 2.75 buzzers.
2.75? I mean, I'm going to go... How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
9.
I'm going to go 9 buzzers.
9 out of 2 buzzers.
I'm going to go 9 buzzers. And that is a tip of the hat to the Supreme Court.
Thank you, Thurgood Marshall, if you're out there listening.
Thank you very much for your service to the court.
He's very dead.
He is?
Yeah.
Okay. So nowadays, if they redid the show, they could ask which Supreme Court Black for Black is now dead.
All right, check us out on Instagram at Come On Down Show. If you want to reach out to us, comeondownshow@gmail.com. If you want to send us your 10-year-old gregarious kids or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
That's the first step. So until then, we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, and make sure they're gregarious. I don't want none of your boring kids. Because I need to make money off your kid.
Like the people in the Suez Canal with the Hillary Clinton kids.
What are they doing?
They're smuggling the kids for it to be sacrificed by Hillary Clinton. You don't know about this?
Is this from QAnon?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well then, yeah.
All right, see you guys next week.
Bye.